Powered by Riverside FM.
Powered by Riverside.
What's up, UB Nation? Another episode of Unconventional Playbook on a happy Monday. If you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, boy, that game last night. By the way, before we get started, please hit the like and subscribe button. Really helps. This thing is growing almost up to 3,000 subscribers. Minnesota Timberwolves last night answered the bell, answered the call, down 15 at halftime, down at 20 points. Early in that third quarter, could have folded the tent, but they didn't. Man, it's great to be a Timberwolves fan. Man, it's great to be a Minnesota fan. Things usually don't work out this way for us. I loved last night seeing all of the Timberwolves fans on the road. And after the game was won, as the Denver Nuggets fans started to disperse, the Minnesota Timberwolves fans were kind of left in the arena to celebrate. And it was a fantastic thing to see. It was great to see Nikola Jokic walk off in defeat. Well, mad respects for the Joker. Like, to be able to play against that guy for 7 games, some of those games in altitude, I mean, that guy is a load. He's a load, and he's super skilled. One of the best big men to ever play the game. But it was good to see him walk off the floor. It was so good. So many magical moments in that game last night. Michael Conley Jr. stepping up in key roles at key times during the game. Anthony Edwards' big 3 from the corner. I know people have been really tough on Rudy Gobert. I've been tough on Rudy Gobert, but had some big rebounds last night, made a big shot. Naz Reid, absolutely fantastic. Just high level of energy that he brings off the bench, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, dunks, key threes. I mean, he's like a little Energizer bunny that could out there. And he is the heart and soul of our team. It's just a great night. Just a great night. I slept really, really well. To have the Minnesota Timberwolves come out in Game 7, I can't wait to see the national media and what the talking heads say about the Minnesota Timberwolves, because as much as they can put on the back burner Minnesota sports, it is not necessarily Minnesota sports. It would be irresponsible of me to come on a podcast and say that the national media is against any team from Minnesota. Like, what type of planning goes into that? Like, I don't see that. I just feel like the national media, they just don't like mid-market teams. If they could have their way, they would have the NFL and the NBA and all of the major sports in California, Chicago, New York, and Florida. And everybody else be there. That's what the national media does. So right now what it does is it forces guys like Stephen A., who always talks about South Beach and la. It forces these guys to talk Minnesota Timberwolves. It's like that old Bonnie Raitt song. Let's give them something to talk about. They got to talk about us now. They got to talk about us now. They won't have a show. The Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't think anybody could have imagined that they would have had such a great season Karl Anthony Towns has been someone that has been vilified over the past couple of years of not being able to step up in big games. Well, he stepped up last night. And I guarantee you there won't be many people that are going to give him his flowers. They're going to be dead silent. And see, that's the one thing I hate about the media. Like, they will jump on top of somebody and create this narrative that they're a choke artist, or they don't play good in games, or they don't play good in primetime games. And then when this person finally breaks through and steps up, they don't give them their flowers. Like, if you were to come with that kind of venom on one end, don't you have to have the same energy on the other end? I mean, my gosh. The Minnesota Timberwolves were mentally prepared for that game. You don't get down 20 points and have the will to come back if you're not mentally prepared for that game. Like, you didn't see any panic. You didn't see any panic from the coaching staff. You really didn't see any pointing fingers. The only thing that I saw was teamwork and collaboration when someone missed an assignment. Like, they got that corrected right away. One thing I wanted to talk about is, as you watch that game, did Jokic kind of gas out? I mean, he went for it at the end, but he played in an incredible amount of minutes for the Denver Nuggets. Did he get burned out? People have been talking about Tiz, head coach of the New York Knicks, about burning his players out. He's got a 7-person rotation, and he's playing these guys 40 minutes a game. And so he's taking a lot of criticism of that. How about Jokic? Man, it just felt like during the course of this series that he never came out of the game. I mean, this dude is carrying around a lot of weight and girth. And they're trying to get the ball in his hand every opportunity they can. And that's just fatiguing. That's fatiguing. He's in incredible shape. But I wonder if he got gassed down the stretch. Didn't have a dominant game like he usually does. And I'm not taking anything away from the Minnesota Timberwolves defense, because the Minnesota Timberwolves defense against Jokic last night was stellar. But it seems to me that it looked like down the stretch, he got gassed. How about the block against Jokic toward the end of the game? How huge was that? And again, I'm not one of these guys that's going to come on here and blame the referees for anything, man. But sometimes when you get a certain trend going in certain series of what the referees are calling and what they're not calling, man, I'm surprised they didn't call a foul on that. I was surprised they didn't call a foul on that, because I think the officiating has been really inconsistent the whole series. They'll call touch fouls sometimes, other times they don't call touch fouls. They have a very difficult time reffing Jokic. They don't know whether he's pushing off or if that's just power. So I thought in those moments, I thought the refereeing was really surprisingly letting the players play on the stretch. Anthony Edwards, fantastic player. And I'm not going to throw water on his fire, but again, it's about being realistic and understanding. Like, when people start comparing Jordan and Kobe and stuff like that, and you have one that's a fan or whether it's not a fan, they push back on that, you get called a hater. And Anthony Edwards is big time basketball player, 22 years old, got a bright future ahead of him, has a chance to be one of the greats, has a chance to be a Hall of Famer. But the Jordan and the Kobe stuff it's just too early. He's not in that category. Exceptionally great. I wouldn't trade him right now for anybody in the league. I love Anthony Edwards. Let me be on record saying that. This is not a hate take. This is a legit take. Speaking of legit takes, by the way, if you want to see more Lionel Jones with my good friend Tony Vandermark, great podcast. Look it up. Legit takes. Anthony Edwards isn't that guy yet. I suspect that he probably will be next 2 to 3 years. But he's not that guy yet. He's not in that category yet. But I wouldn't trade him for anybody in the world. And that's just a realistic take. Go back and watch the film of Kobe and Jordan in these kind of games. It's just different. And Anthony Edwards is a little different. But he's not quite there. He can see the plateau of that kind of greatness. He can look up and see that. Not quite there yet. And let me tell you something. This may seem like a hate take too, but I'm just looking out for the guy. Someone needs to get with Anthony Edwards and talk to him about his post-game press conferences, his interviews with journalists. Man, I just don't like it. I just don't like all the cursing. You know, I know first thing people are going to say is let him be himself. Well, haven't you always been taught by your parents? Like there's a side of you that you have to have when you hang out with your friends, when you hang out with your boys. You know, you're hanging out, you're chilling. You know, that's when you can be you. But is there a time, before people jump all over me, is there a time where you shouldn't always show your cards of who you are when you're with your boys? Like, isn't there usually a time of business? I'll give you a perfect example. Like, there's a certain way you talk with your friends and your family members. But it's just you and your family members. But what happens when you have to go for a job interview? You still gonna be that same guy? Okay. You still gonna be that same person? You gonna talk the way you talk going in for a job interview? How about if you got a big presentation for work? You gonna wear the same clothes as you would wear out chilling with your guys or your gals? Or are you gonna button it up a little bit for the presentation that you have to have? See, before people jump all over me, and it's like, well, you just gotta let people be themselves. There is a time for that, and there's a time not for that. And so here's the power of money. If I was an Anthony Edwards in the circle, and I'm not, I would pull him aside and say, hey, we need to clean this up. But then then there's that fear that if you're that guy or gal in the circle, that he's going to get rid of you if he doesn't like what you're saying. But somebody needs to save him from himself in those moments. It's my only critique. Like he's got a button up. I mean, he's using the MF word during the postgame. Carl Anthony Towns last night, if you guys watched it, Carl Anthony Towns was talking about he's been here for 9 years, and it's finally good to kind of break through. And Anthony Edwards chimes in and says, F those 9 years. What? Post-game interview? What? Shock. So somebody better get to the young man and teach him how to be a professional. We're not asking him not to be himself, but I just think there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a place to be chilling, and there's a time and a place to be buttoned up. We all do it in our daily lives. So here's a kid that's just growing up before our eyes, making more money than he ever probably thought he would make. And now he's having more success than he probably ever thought he would ever have. And he's being compared to some of the greats. And sometimes young people just need a little tutelage. That's all. That's where I'm coming from with that. Scottie Scheffler, arrested, I believe before the second round of PGA. Just a strange situation. Doesn't make, Scottie Scheffler a bad guy. Doesn't make the judging from what I read and what I researched about it. There's an accident. Unfortunately, someone passed away. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. Scottie Scheffler needed to get to uh, his event. I don't believe he had a tee time at 5 a.m., but I'm sure he wanted to get to the driving range, get to the golf course, get settled, go, through his routine because he had an early tee time that day, and it is the PGA Championship. So I've had these moments where it's traffic and you don't know what's going on. I was just in that moment yesterday. I want people to drop my son off at the airport, Minneapolis airport, driving home, and it was dead stop traffic. And so you get those moments where your blood starts to boil, you're trying to figure out what is going on, and you just want to get to where you're going. You just want to get to where you're going. And during this whole thing, I saw people driving on the median just to get off at an exit or driving on the median as far as they could down the highway, but before maybe they saw a cop and they tried to ease themselves in line, which if you ever see stuff like that, people that have been waiting in line for hours, they're not just going to let you ease in there, so that creates a little bit of road rage. That's what I did. I wanted to get home too. I had the Minnesota Timberwolves to watch. My wife's in the car getting frustrated. I'm getting frustrated. Guess what we did? We sat and we waited. We sat and we waited. We gave the situation time. And we handled it in a civilized manner. It is those moments where your blood starts to boil and you get upset, where you have to make great decisions. Now, I'm sure the police were informed about the PGA Championship. It would have done Scottie a little bit better to possibly roll down his window, find a cop on the scene, talk to a cop on the scene and say, hey, I'm Scottie Scheffler. I'm in contention. I'm the number one golfer in the world. And what's going on? I really need to get in there. Can you help me? Bro, you just can't drive on the median to get in. Like, what do you think is going to happen? You had to have seen police and people handling the situation. You're just going to drive on the median? And what's remarkable is that when you're liked in the national media sense, people are going to make excuses for you. All I heard yesterday was people making excuses for Scottie Scheffler. He's not a bad guy. No one said he's a bad guy. He made a bad decision. Oh, the police officer overreacted. Police officer didn't overreact. He had a scene where there had a deceased individual, unfortunately, and you got a guy, he had no idea who it was, that's traveling on the median at 5 o'clock in the morning. How is he supposed to react? I mean, is there a law that he has to be a golf fan? So as soon as he recognized or saw Scottie Scheffler, he was supposed to recognize it? Like, is there a law? I mean, this guy wasn't even a golf fan. He just saw a guy driving on the median. And now you got people out there saying, oh, the cop overreacted to the situation. Overreacted to a situation? Like, I don't get it. So think before you get in those type of situations. A little bit of advice for Anthony Edwards and Scottie Scheffler. Moments make legacies. So all the great things those two individuals have done as sports heroes and icons, where they are, be careful about the decisions you make because they could be all wiped away. I mean, ask Sean Puffy Collins, and we touched on that in the last couple episodes. Great day to be a Minnesota fan. Can't wait for Wednesday. We'll preview the Timberwolves Mavericks game when we have an opportunity. It'll be a good game. Lucas tough, Kyrie's tough, and big moments. But I think we're the better team. This has been unconventional playbook.
Powered by Riverside.